Hello guys, welcome to Major's Garage. This is Suellio, and today we're gonna see my lap here with the Dallara iR-01 at Watkins Glen without the loop. So let's go straight to the first corner. Basically, my first reference here, my only reference actually, is the change of color in the track itself. In this lap specifically, I did brake a little bit too early. Not too early, but kind of one car earlier than I would expect to brake. As you can see here, I'm starting to brake one car or so before the actual change of color, and my maximum pressure is a little bit after I go over the change of color. That is a little bit too early, and you will see why in a moment. So I would say that it's good to start braking at the beginning of the change of color, quickly to the highest pressure though, because if you build up the braking pressure too slowly, then the car will not be able to stop. So remember to really brake quickly on the beginning of brakes as soon as you cross this line here. Then we want to wait for a very small amount of time for the car to slow down a little bit, and then we already want to start turning. The goal here is basically to put the car at the bottom of this first layer of the curve. So we have the yellow line, we have the first layer, and then the curve goes up and we get to the second layer. So we actually want to avoid a little bit the second layer here because it's a little bit too high. As you can see here, there's a lot of camber, and the track goes down until we get to this point here, where we reach the lowest part of the curve, and then it goes up very aggressively. So we want to avoid this part. As you can see, I actually did go too deep and too early, especially because I actually did brake a little bit too early here. The car had the grip and turned in a little bit more than I expected, and I ended up attacking this second layer here. So as you can see, I'm really aggressive here, and because of that, my car actually lost a little bit of rotation. It understeered a little bit, and I had to wait for a split second so I could get back on the throttle. So as you can see, I'm getting back on the throttle as soon as I get off the curb, but ideally we want to get back on the throttle here at the curb, especially if you are touching the inside tire on the lowest part of the curb. So I lost a little bit of time here, probably 1/10 or so. And then on the exit, as you can see, I'm really using the entire track here. The goal is basically to come back and basically touch the grass here without getting enough track. So you will get enough track if you touch the middle of the car, let's say the helmet, if you pass the helmet over the grass. So at this little edge here, as you can see, I'm pretty much at the limit, and I'm not getting any off track here. Then we want to just go very smoothly through this part, flat out, no big deal, all the way until this very high speed right-hander. So about here, as you can see, the track actually goes a little bit to the left before the corner actually starts. So you have to be aware of that and bring the car a little bit, at least stay as close as possible to this white line. As you can see, I'm actually leaving a little bit of space here. I could probably bring the car slightly more, 1 degree or half a degree probably, to the left. If you are touching this white line, you're going to have a very good line for this corner. When I start turning, I quickly lift and go into the trail braking zone, like 1 or 2%. If you think about 1 or 2%, that's going to be fine. Of course, eventually you will brake around 5 or 6%. But if you think about that little dot, red dot on your braking trace, you will probably have a very good braking for this part. And then you wait for the car to turn in, and when you feel that you can actually get back on the throttle and maintain the rotation all the way until the exit, you can basically go all the way to 100% pretty quickly, as you can see. Generally, this will happen around this access road here. So as you can see, I'm getting back on the throttle right before this access road. I can consider this my apex. And then you can really slowly let the car run wide until the exit. Be careful not to overturn the wheel here. So you have to be very gentle with the wheel. As you can see, I'm not turning more than 45 degrees here, even less, probably 35 degrees. Because then you will have enough tire all the way until the end of the corner. If you turn too much on the entry, you will start understeering and hitting up the surface of the front tires. And towards the exit, you will have a more understeery car. And you also scrub a little bit of speed, so that's not good at all. Then you can let the car run a little bit here. Just be careful not to be too aggressive on this grass. The same thing, you can put the middle of the car on this white line here, on this change between the yellow and white line without getting off track. If you put the middle of the car on the grass, you will get off track. And here, actually, not only on off track, this grass is a little bit high, so it can make the car spin pretty quickly, so be careful with that. Then quickly bringing the car all the way to the right here so we can prepare the next corner. And here, as you can see, I'm actually using a little bit more of the white line. So we want to be really at the edge of the track. My braking reference is the change of color, but here I'm actually braking a little bit before that, more than the first corner. My maximum pressure is really actually before the change of color, and when the track starts changing, I'm actually already starting to release and starting to churn. And then we want to have a quite early apex in a way here. And then we want to be as close as possible to this curb. As soon as we touch the curb, we try to get back on the throttle as aggressively as possible without spinning, of course. Here you cannot go all the way to 100%, but you want to go as close as possible so that aggressive throttle will make the car rotate a little bit more, so you can carry more speed and at the same time rotate more until the exit. And then you can really let the car run wide until the exit here. It was a little bit tight here. Then for this next corner, this is a little bit tricky one. I think it's one of the most difficult corners for this car in this track. I am braking. I am looking at the 100, but as you can see, I'm actually braking pretty early. My maximum pressure is maybe two or three cars before the 100, and I'm really starting to turn in what feels late. The line of reference here that I really use is this inside line of the concrete patch. So as you can see, I'm trying to follow the inside line all the way until the apex. And then when I get here, I'm actually already trying to push the car forward pretty aggressively here. This is really difficult because the car wants to snap over here pretty easily. So you have to be really, really delicate on your throttle application. As you can see, I'm around 50% throttle, and then I'm really gently going all the way into 100 as I feel that the car is having more and more grip because of the extra speed and downforce. So again, turning in quite late, trying to follow this inside line on the concrete here, very gentle on the front tires, and then getting back on the throttle very gently all the way until the exit. Letting the car run wide here with the throttle. And definitely, it's very important here to have a very light hand. On the exit, you have to really let the force feedback tell you how the fronts are reacting, and let the car kind of counter steer by itself. If you have very firm hands, you may force a little bit the front tires and the car can spin very easily, or lose the rear and lose traction and speed. Now going for the next right-hander, I am braking in between the 200 and 100. My maximum pressure will be basically at the 150 imaginary sign here that we have, and then again trying to turn in a little bit. Actually, this one not as late as the previous corner. This one we have the same concrete patch here, but we don't want to use it as a reference. As you can see, I'm actually using I'm totally to the right of it, and my goal here is to really be as close as possible to touching this yellow line. As you can see, I am touching the yellow line, and this is actually my apex and my reference for applying the throttle. Then We want to be a little bit careful here with the throttle. The speed of this corner is not that high, and you have much less downforce than in the other corners. You have to be really delicate with the throttle because it can snap over shear pretty quickly here. So as you can see, going to 50% throttle and then trying to holding the rear a little bit, and then when I see that I'm gonna be able to get back to 100%. And that is actually pretty late here in a way, but I was probably a little bit too hot on the exit, and I couldn't really get all the way to 100 earlier. So I had to wait a little bit for the car to settle, and then I got to 100%. And then this is the most difficult corner of the track, actually. It is the hairpin that goes basically slightly downhill. This car has much less grip at lower speeds, and this corner has less grip as well. So you add up everything and you have a very, very difficult corner and the situation on the exit where the car will basically want to kill you all the time. So you have to be really careful here. As you can see, I'm not braking too hard and braking just a little bit. And then as I turn in quite early. I want to be on the inside as early as possible and stick to the inside. I'm actually coasting, as you can see here, because there's so little grip that you cannot really force the car to turn. It kind of already turns pretty easily here, and you need to be very careful with the rear tires actually losing grip. So I'm getting back on the throttle really, really gently. As you can see here, this is kind of 30% throttle initially, and then I'm very, 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 very slowly applying progressively until I get to 100%. So as you can see, this is the most progressive throttle application of the entire track. And even at this point here, I am still not at 100%. So that's how difficult this exit is. And then finally getting to 100% here. Then for this corner, it's a little bit scary, but yes, you can do it flat out. Can really want to touch this sharp corner here, the sharp corner on this yellow line. This is where you want to basically touch the car. I lost it by a tire, but I got away with it with no problems. You can really use this curve on the exit, but then immediately you want to turn the car all the way to the left because you need to prepare as early as possible the last corner. So the last corner, I'm getting really close to the grass, basically touching the white line here. A little bit of braking, trying to make the car turn. My aim here is the sharpest corner on the yellow line here. That will be my apex, which is right here. This is where my apex is, and I want to really punch this throttle pretty aggressively as soon as I hit this apex. So as you can see, this is pretty well timed. And then I'm really pushing the car forward. There's a lot of speed, so a lot of grip and a lot of cornering performance here. Had quite safe exit in a way. I could probably use just a little bit more. Of course, you don't want to always go super close to the wall here because you're gonna have some trouble coming back and getting an off track here on this grass. But yeah, pretty satisfying corner to do when you do it right. And yeah, this was 1:16.0. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you next week. Bye bye.